and welcome to this week's coaching video. So today we're going to talk about nutrition extras, so just taking nutrition to the extra little level but without overcomplicating and confusing things. So this is something like the topics that we'll talk about in this coaching video isn't something that you need to put into play straight away, right now, or even within this month. It's just so that you can be aware of it maybe in a few months' time, maybe a year's time, just those little extras that you can work towards, but it's nothing that's like you have to stress yourself out a bit. It's just a little bit of extra information for you that you can put to action when suits. So always sticking to non-negotiables, but then trying to go to that next level of maybe getting a little bit more variety with your diet. So you might find that you get in a bit samey with the same foods all the time, and there's a big a lot of research going into the gut health as well at the minute. So what we find is actually really helpful for our gut health is having a bigger variety in the foods that we eat. So sometimes when we think, variety, we've got to change everything all the time, but it could be as simple as just swapping one piece of fruit or one piece of veg that you buy in your weekly food shop. So if you find that you're always getting the same like apple, pears, bananas as fruit, then maybe one week you just go apple, pears and kiwis, or then apples, pears and plums, or just something just to change it each time. And then over the weeks, over the month, you're adding in the variety. So just changing one food item each week just to add that in. That's a really nice way to add a little bit more variety. Another way to add in a little bit more variety is either with like nuts and seeds. So really handy to add into like cereals or porridge or yogurts, or even just having a little snack as well, maybe even with a bit of Nutella. But yeah, they're really good for variety as well. Another thing is maybe looking at protein. So if you find that you're always having the same chicken and mince, maybe it's like looking at different types of fish, trying to get different omegas and all the different nutrients that you can get from those different types. You could go for the fresh, or there's a frozen or the tinned. It doesn't always have to be like amazing. Just try and get a little bit of variety in there as well. Also thinking about the gut health as well, looking at good bacteria, so things like yogurts that have got the good healthy bacteria in them, they're really good. And also things like, this is really random, but sauerkraut. Not something that you're probably going to have in the winter, but in the summer sometimes it's good to add to salads and stuff, so that's really good for your gut health as well. Another thing that we can look into as well is fasting and things like intermittent fasting and the meal timing. So Luke, do you want to go over that one?
I feel like intermittent fasting's got like, it comes across as quite a fancy name. Realistically, it's more just having like a window of eating basically. So it can be any times, like there'll be someone trying to say that these certain amount of times have got the magic number and things like that. None of that's true really. It's limiting the time that you're going to eat in the day, which it's actually quite a good way of limiting how many calories you are getting in without actually having to count the calories. It works for some people, it really doesn't work for some people. That's going to be one of them that, I think it's the same with any diet really. If we're looking at sort of like diets with names and things like that, try not to get too caught up on it. Whatever you see online, in the media, on TV, they're all trying to fluff these diets up as something sort of magic, where in reality they're probably just cutting calories somewhere. If it works for you, then great. If it doesn't work for you, then like I say, just don't get too caught up. I think that goes with it, especially the intermittent fasting, which seems to be the big one at the minute. There is no magic to it. It is literally just cutting down that window of opportunity so that you can eat. Tends to cut out at either breakfast in the morning, which if you think about it is probably cutting anywhere between 300 and 600 calories out. And it's that little window at night where you might just be grabbing a couple of biscuits or grabbing little bits here and there. It's cutting them calories out. If you can eat the same in that window as you normally would, then you are going to be cutting your calories down. If you can't and you feel like you're ploughing loads of food in because you're starving, then it might not be the right one for you. But that goes for, I think, or just about any diet with a name. They tend to be just fluffing up, trying to sort of cut down your calories somehow. So there's no magic to them. So don't listen to anyone that tells you there's magic to them. You can try them if you wanted to. Some of them are a little bit better than others. Some of them are absolutely ridiculous. So ignore them ones. But I think it goes back to your non-negotiables again. So if you ever feel like you need to do one of them diets for whatever reason, just go back and think, right, am I actually ticking these non-negotiables now? If you're not, then start ticking them off again. If you are ticking them all off and you still want to give the diet a go, can you still tick them off and do that diet? If not, don't do it. It's my advice.
Yeah. I think as well with any changes that you do to your nutrition, it's the mindset you go into it. So I'm not sure if we said before, but instead of always thinking about restricting foods and cutting things out, flip it around and go, right, what can I eat more of and what can I have more of, so that you've kind of got this open mindset into eating more and like really giving yourself lots of nutrients, rather than like closing this window and going, I've got to eat less, I've got to cut out this, cut out that, and kind of going down into this. So like open it up and be like, right, I can have more fruit, more vegetables, more protein, more yogurts, and just keep going into it with that mindset as well. But yeah, so those extra little things that we talked about, it's nothing that you need to then go away and be like, oh, now I need to do this by this X, Y, and Z and do all this extra stuff. It's not, it's just extra stuff for you to be aware of and maybe work towards over the rest of your life. It's nothing that you need to master and perfect to a T. If you ever feel like life's getting a bit crazy, go back to the non-negotiables. No matter where you are in your life for years' time or anything, just go back to the non-negotiables. And then when you feel like that's quite comfortable, that's when you can go, right, variety, what other foods would help with gut health, and maybe meal timings and anything extra there. So yeah, that's it for today's nutrition extras. If you do want to talk a little bit more about it, drop us a message or we can have a little call next week as well.